Thank you very much for the invitation. That is a strange phenomena, what comes from India. And obviously, sometimes I also get surprises that what kind of behavior is coming from a country or a political leadership, which is such a huge country with a lot of resources, huge population. But sometimes I see that their gestures, their behavior, their decisions are not commensurating their mighty size that they have or they enjoy. And that has been very unfortunate. It is probably driven by their own political agendas. We saw that it is driven by a kind of Bollywood movies, that what you see in the movies, it happens the way you wish doing that. That's probably very strange to me. I fail to understand why do they behave that way. Even a street child can understand what's going on globally, but they'll tend to take the other path, and obviously, on top of that, it defended what they're doing. Let us compare the briefings of the two air marshal, both sides. Indian side, Air Marshal Bharti came, and on our side, Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb came. Now, when they appeared on the media, what Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb said, that these were the aircraft that he shot down, this was the location, this was the time, these were the type of aircraft, and this is how he shot them. When the Indian Air Marshal came in front of the media people asked him, how many aircraft did you shoot of the Pakistan Air Force? He said, we cannot tell you. Then he's asked that, did you lose any aircraft? He said, I cannot share that with you. So I was on the media, and some media friends like you asked me, well, how do you compare? I said, with due respect, Air Marshal is in rank very senior to me, although he belongs to another country. But because of his seniority and a higher rank, that I respect him, but I would like to submit it to him that during this time that he chose to do the press conference, he should have gone and played golf and had a great cup of coffee. So why? Because if as an air marshal you come on the media and you cannot answer media, how many aircraft did you shoot from the enemy and how many did you get shot? Why are you coming to the media? It's absolutely like the cricket language. Both people or both sides of the country understand cricket. It is absolutely like a World Cup, a team being sent, and the team comes home almost with a long face, and somebody asks me, what score did you do? They say, we can't tell you what score did we do. Or what score did the enemy do against you, the opponent? Say, we can't tell you that also. So why did you play that match, obviously? And you are absolutely rightly referring to the Chief of Defense Staff, Neil Chauhan Saab. I'm not saying that. He said we suffered losses. And I don't take this as strange as the next sentence, what most of the people don't talk. He said, yes, we suffered loss, but that's part of the world. What he said, which surprises me, is that he said that we suffered losses because we made some mistakes. Then we grounded our Air Force. We learned the tactics and improved them and came back very heavy on the Pakistanis on 10th of May. How can you ground number 4th Air Force in the world? How can you commit against a Pakistan Air Force which has been ready for almost 40 years or combat ready, which has been a very high alert? The timing choice was yours, timing was your choice of weapon was your intensity of that damage that you wanted to cause, shock and effect was on your side, and still you ground your own Air Force after having attacked Pakistan Air Force. How do you do that? That you do in peacetime. You do real warlike training in the peacetime. I have been saying that Pakistan Air Force fight like it trains, and it trains like it fights. So that's the motive. I had been to an exercise which is called Indus Shield 2024 about a year before the war. And in that, I was there just as a retired officer. For my curiosity, I make documentaries, and I was given permission to attend to all briefings. In one of the briefings, I saw that they were near almost 60 aircraft coming in from the one side. So that's called near warlike training. There were 26 countries taking part in that exercise. So this is the Air Force which fights on terms absolutely as of war. I have done my war course in Istanbul, Turkey, in Turkish language. So I met the Turkish pilots there, F-16 pilots, and I could speak Turkish. So I spoke to them, said hello, and obviously it built up a little comfort level. And I asked him, how do you find our exercise, which you've just undertaking with the PA? He said, we do go and attend the red flag exercise, which is the American exercise. But your exercise, the PAF exercise, is much closer in many fields as real to the near warlike scenario. So this is not a compliment coming from me. This is what I'm trying to portray, a Turkish pilot telling me, and this is what we do. Indians should have done a near warlike training. I think that's the only solution that gives you the least surprises. And that changed me then, and I'm strange even today what this video clip has come about. Interestingly, I will narrate another experience that I had on the first anniversary. This is about 6th May this year, 2026. I was giving an online talk on the subject on Mar-Ka-Haq to our consulate in Los Angeles from here, Pakistan. And the Consul General was obviously very kind to ask Ambassador Mr. Rizwan, a Pakistani ambassador in Washington. So he was also very kind to join that talk, and he heard me giving that talk. In his closing address, Mr. Rizwan, who's the ambassador of Pakistan in Washington, he confirmed it because I was watching through the Zoom. He said that Americans approached him, asking him that Indians have approached Americans, and now Americans were asking Ambassador Rizwan that now that Indians have approached, can you contact your government and ask them, yeah, are they ready for a ceasefire? Now I'm taking the names. I'm quoting our ambassador, present ambassador in Washington, who was sharing with me and everybody, all the audience sitting down there, and said they approached us. The Americans approached and asked that check you with your government. Are they willing to do the ceasefire? Because the Indians have approached the Americans. So that tells you a lot about it. I think the history will write different stories what the Indians are writing. Absolutely, I agree with you. You see, the world counts on what was your performance during the war. And obviously, then they place your influence accordingly. The kind of 8-0 that we have proven on that night 1:30 AM, I was very fortunate to receive a call from the Pakistan Air Force top leadership. And I was talking, and at the moment he shared this Indian loss with me. And my first question as a former fighter pilot was, what about our aircraft? And this is 1:30 AM. And he said, Alhamdulillah, sir, all aircraft landed back and all counted. Now, this I remember very clearly. That's a credibility that we have. And the world saw that. We did not only say, the world believed us. This is number one. And then what Indians took the narrative that they tried to spread, obviously, diplomatically and militarily. India, people that never believed is no less than President Trump was always saying that this is the kill, this is the damage. So I think India lost that influence. And especially they suffered this a kind of uneasy situation because the last about 3 decades or so, after the Cold War particularly, India has been enjoying the best of both the worlds. The West, the Russians, the Americans, obviously, they were obviously the darlings of all globally because of their might, because of the trade, relations between the two countries, bilateral or trilateral. So I think India had enjoyed that. But they should have stuck to the limits that world is now very transparent. Everybody has a device in the hand. You can verify, ask ChatGPT, ask Claude, or ask anybody. They'll tell you what the data is. So I think should have been careful. It is not the war of 1940s or 60s or 71 in which whatever you say, it's a state channel what is reporting. There is no counter claim. There are no counter confirmations from anybody. The world has moved. A very senior journalist like you will not leave it unattended if somebody is trying to tell a lie. So I think Indians should have realized that it is no more that Hollywood or especially Bollywood kind of environment that people are looking forward to believe. They tend to go for the facts. They tend to go for the reality. And that's what we're seeing every day. And they lost the influence quite a bit and the credibility, obviously. You see, they believe that whatever documentary probably ability or to project through the media or the optics, their ability is number one, probably even above the Hollywoods. What the movies that they create, the impact that they create, they have a huge following of the cinematic viewers. Obviously, they have. So I think they tend to make it for them. I think this is their target audience because what they believe is there are millions of people out there who believed in the Indian films. So I think they believe if they make a documentary, probably it is going to spread and people might as well, a good percentage will believe in that. Let me share an interesting story with you. I have been in touch with Pakistan Air Force since this encounter took place in 2025. And all that 1 year and 3 months, and especially 1 year till the first anniversary, whenever I visited operations room or air headquarters, I was requesting the Air Force top leadership that they should open out and declare that we are 8-0 now, not 6-0. They were very reluctant. But the top leadership was always thinking, replying me, sir, we moved on. We don't want to get into optics and game of number. And is it because everybody knows, even the Indians know what we've done. So why should we come back on the media and revisit? Thank Almighty. that they agreed finally after 1 year. And I happened to make a documentary on my channel, and the title was The 8-0 Reality. And it was obviously with the kind support and blessing of the Air Force. I had been seeing all the data, and I consider myself very, very fortunate that on 5th of May, I released this, uploaded, and on 6th of May, Air Vice Marshal Tariq Ghazi came on the media and he said, today the PF stands at 8-0. And it is because their support and acknowledgement, I was able to make that documentary. What I'm trying to tell you is that PF was so reluctant to revisit the score, in spite of all the proofs and data that I had seen myself. So that is the case. We are graceful. We don't want to get into the media race, and they don't want to claim further. There are a lot of things which are still probably our reality, but Pakistan Air Force doesn't want to revisit them. Let me take you back to Abhinandan's case, February 2019. Now, although Abhinandan was promoted to the rank of group captain and he was awarded a medal by Indian government, but I truly appreciate Mr. Abhinandan, who's retired possibly now. He never ever claimed once that he shot down F-16, what the Indian government has been claiming. So once a media person asked the Indian Air Force chief, then he said, Abhinandan is not claiming having shot down F-16. So he said, no, it's confirmed. We are telling you. I mean, the fighter pilot who is said to have shot down is not making any claims, and the Indian Air Force is making claim and awarding him. So I respect Abhinandan for that, because he never spoke about it that, yes, I shot down. This is the kind of Indian government should realize that. I'm trying to, repeating it again, that probably they think that Bollywood is as powerful as it was 20, 30 years back. It was, no doubt about it. But in the hand, you have devices which tell you something else. Look, you could make a documentary and say it's fictitious. Say that it's for cinematic viewers, it's just for viewing, it's for fun's sake, it's for excitement, it's for patriotism. Name it that way. But don't say that this is fact-based. When you call it fact-based, obviously the world will question, world will come back, and journalists, the media person, researchers, humble admirers of the strategy like me, will come back to you and obviously remind you that this is not a fact. I think I said that they should stop embarrassing themselves, and even their armed forces. I think, and I always call Indian armed forces as a professional air force. Especially, I never look down on Indian Air Force. People have been asking me, no, it's untrained air force, not trained well. They are not very brave, and I always disagree. And with respectfully, I say no. This is a professional air force. We had an encounter with the professional air force, but they made mistakes as compared to us. I think they will not tell you whether we've learned or not, obviously, but they should have learned inside the corridors, inside the operations room, inside the squadrons. They should be wise enough. I just complimented them. This is a professional air force. They should have learned it. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. But unfortunately, they overestimate the power of their media, the influence that they create through optically, through the lenses. I think that they overrate themselves. So I think being a professional air force, even the former air chief who was there, Air Chief Marshal AP Singh, who's retired now, who was heading the Indian Air Force last year, he came back on the media after about 90 days. That's too much. You can't even, 9 days is too much for an Indian Air Force chief to evaluate what have they done to us, to Pakistan Air Force. He came on the media of 90 days and he said, we shot down 5, 6 aircraft. 5, 6. I mean, after 90 days, you don't know whether 5, 6. And fast forward to another 2 months. That means total of about 5 months gone. And he said, we have shot down Pakistani 10 or 12 aircraft, could be a big aircraft, could be this. I mean, it is strange. As a fighter pilot, I am not allowed to pack up and go home every day unless I have evaluated my mission. I have carried out my error analysis and everything. The seniors have briefed me. If I'm the senior or I'm the leader, I have to brief my juniors before they pack up. So this is done every way for a peacetime mission, a practice bombing mission. So how can an air chief leave the office and come back after 3 months or 9 or 5 months and to claim this? So that itself is self-negating, I think. The Air Force takes seconds to realize we have the optics, we have videos, we have satellites, and so many things to evaluate what's the kind of damage they've caused. So I think, having said less is more, they should have learned and done it in a better way. I still respect them as an Air Force. Even if we don't talk about the documentary, if you remember last year, they almost on every day there was a briefing and the media carried out one story that it was we were fighting against China and not Pakistan, if you recall. They were trying to pacify their nation. They self of obviously embarrassment, the sense they were trying to avoid that by saying that we did not lose from Pakistan. We lost it from China. Whatever damage has occurred is because of China. So I think they used it two-pronged. One was that they should justify their losses. Number two was they wanted to have more military budget by telling their nation that, look, give us more money because we are pitched up against the China and it's not Pakistan that we're fighting against. So I think they wanted to do that. If it's good for capitalization or asking for funds, there have been a lot of red tapeism. And there have been shortage of funds that the projects have been delayed. Even when Tejas crashed in Dubai last year, I felt sorry for it and offered my condolence, not only from my side, but Pakistan Air Force side. I had offered a condolence. That project is so much delayed that Indian Air Force Air Chief Marshal AP Singh had to say that technology delayed is technology denied. And I read from the Air Force different article. They're saying that Tejas, they were saying that we want a fighter jet, but the government is giving us a political product. I mean, look at the mindset of the Indian Air Force. I think they have been a big gap between what the political leadership desires and what the Air Force itself, as a professional Air Force, desires. So I think it's a mismatch of it. Whereas when you see Pakistan Air Force, here, the Air Chief Marshal Zahir Ahmad Babar Sidhu possibly is undertaking numerous projects. He first briefs, takes people into confidence, asks them to move, and then he creates an enabling environment. Enabling is from financial side, from technical side, transfer of technology, updates, and obviously infrastructure development, whatever is desired. And it is done at a very high speed. Projects that are undertaken, obviously very closely monitored with the timeline and obviously with the progress. Absolutely. Let me give you a cyber command visit that I had before the war, the previous war, and then later. When I went to the Air Force Cyber Command first before the war, and obviously they briefed me, it looked almost kind of idealistic kind of approach. How will they get? But I saw them performing during the war, and after the war, I had the opportunity to visit them again. And when I asked him, how did you do this all? And the head of the project was telling me, sir, you're talking about the previous war. Me and my team, we are preparing for the next war. This is right after a few days after the war. So they were not euphoric about it that they done a great job and now we need to celebrate for a couple of months or a couple of years. No, they were all out to prepare themselves for the upcoming term. So there are numerous projects. There are about 160 projects PF is undertaking at the moment, some near completion, some in the pipeline, some far-reaching. So obviously, what I'm trying to say is that there is a lot of element of urgency, persuasion, and aggressiveness that I see this side of the border. And that side, probably that's one major difference, or that's the one is almost, if not missing, it has been compromised. You see, these kind of propagandas which are undertaken, they have a big advantage and there is a big disadvantage to these media campaigns. Advantage is that everybody has in his or her hand a device which is called mobile. So everybody watches it right away. It spreads like a fast lightning speed. It goes around. But because they have so many options to verify, reconfirm, and obviously find it credible or not, it takes as little time people come back to it to the realism. So that's the downside of this kind of campaign. So upside is that you tend to believe very fast what's coming. And soon after 5 minutes, you open that device and somebody else like me and you sitting together and talking about the opposite factor or a counter argument. So that has a very short life. They should remember that. Only the truth has the life. If I make a documentary about it and I provide every data, every statistics, that will carry on for weeks and months and years, even after my life, if it's based on the truth. But if it's not based on the truth, the next day probably the media will find out that Khalid Chishti is telling lie. He's not credible anymore. And not only that, my data will lose credibility. Myself as an analyst, as a strategy student, I'll also lose the credibility. So I think I'm very watchful. Why are the Indians not very watchful about it? The people living in this part of the world, which is called South Asia, used to be called SARC sometime back. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, these countries are making almost 22% of the global population. So leaders have to be responsible. We are almost 1/4 of the globe here living in this area. So leader has to be, or have to be, leaders have to be more responsible, because you cannot play with the emotions of the people. Unfortunate part has been that whenever there is an election in India, the leader who creates Pakistan as a genie, so-called, or creates as a monster and creates an element of insecurity in the minds and hearts of the Indians, tend to get a sympathy vote. That here is a filmy hero who's come to save us. So people find in him something macho kind of image. Whereas in Pakistan, in my life, and you've been such so long attached with the media, you must not have observed this, that here Pakistani leader, may it be from any party, has created kind of fear and a kind of scare in the mind and heart of people from India, which is much larger than us. So I think the onus lies on the leadership. They need to play down, they need to play mature, because when you exploit people's emotion temporarily for a short-lived solution, it sets up or finds a place in their minds and hearts for times to come. So I think we need to be more careful, the leadership, both sides, and especially India, I'm referring to, because we are nuclear. That's why I'm saying that we are careful this side. But on the other side, unfortunately, I find a country with a nuclear power, almost huge population in the neighborhood of 7 countries, which are probably all of the time have the one way or the complaining against Indian behavior. I think India has to think about it. Uh, Let me give you an example. This 22% of the globe only does 5% of the trade within. Only 5. Why? Why do we do 5% trade? Is it because of Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka? It's because of India. The Indians obviously want to have hegemonic design. We should have done at least 25% trade within. When we can go out and do the trade with the rest of the globe, why can't we do the trade within? We don't do it. And as I said, it's not because of the smaller countries. India, we agree. I agree that it's a big country in the area. So India has to extend a trust hand, confidence, collaborative, and that kind of gestures the Indians have to initiate. Only then this world, or this part of the world, will not become hostage to negativity. Otherwise, unfortunately, we keep saying what we see.